Hi everyone, today's reflection is on chapter 6 of St John's Gospel, verses 30 to 35. So they asked him, "What miraculous sign then will you give that we may see it and believe you? What will you do? Our forefathers ate the manna in the desert, as it is written, he gave them bread from heaven to eat." Jesus said to them, "I tell you the truth. It is not Moses who has given you the bread from heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." "Sir," they said, "from now on give us this bread." And then Jesus declared, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will never go hungry, and he who believes in me will never be thirsty." At the beginning of today's passage, Jesus is once again pursued by a crowd. The previous day, he'd fed 5,000 people on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, the second of the great miracles detailed in St John's Gospel. That very same night, Jesus and his disciples had escaped. They'd travelled over to the opposite shore of the lake, and the disciples had witnessed him walking on water. Of course, by the following day, the crowd had found them again. And this time, the crowd were expectant. They demand another miracle, another show of wonder from Jesus. According to John's Gospel, they made the point to Jesus that during the Exodus, Moses had given them bread from heaven. Perhaps they thought that the miracle they'd witnessed the previous day wasn't spectacular enough. After all, Jesus may have fed 5,000 people, but Moses had liberated an entire nation from slavery and then, of course, led them through many years in the wilderness. So the crowd challenged Jesus. "What will you do?" they say to him. At first, Jesus rebukes the crowd, reminding them correctly that it was not Moses who provided them with bread from heaven during the Exodus, but God himself. Jesus goes on to say, the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. And that seems to capture the crowd's attention. And they ask Jesus to give them that bread. It's at that moment that Jesus makes the first of 7 I am statements which are recorded in John's Gospel. "I am the bread of life," he says. "He who comes to me will never be hungry, and he who believes in me will never be thirsty." It's an extraordinary and powerful statement. In making it, Jesus points directly to the fact that he is the Son of God. He is the Messiah that the crowd have been looking for. But the statement also tells us something else about the nature of our faith in God. The crowd who'd pursued Jesus wanted a miracle to fulfill their most basic of human needs, to eat and to be nourished. But like most human needs, it provides only temporary fulfillment. Eat now, and you'll be hungry again in just a few hours. Not only that, but no matter how much you eat, you'll eventually want more. What faith offers us is something different. It fulfills a greater and everlasting need. And what Jesus promises us is that if we believe in him, if our faith becomes the focal point of our lives, then we will never be hungry or thirsty again. We live in extraordinary and challenging times, and it's easy at the moment to look at the things that we don't have or the things that we can't do, and to think that if only those things were available to us again, then our lives would be better, that we would be more fulfilled. And the current crisis will pass. Over time, our lives will return to normality. But if we spend the time that we have now focusing on all the things that are absent from our daily lives, then, just like the crowd who pursued Jesus, perhaps we're in danger of missing the point. What Jesus is telling us is that the route to true fulfillment lies through faith. Unfortunately for us, that's something that the lockdown can't take away.